Hi folks, we're Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the have we reached a turning point in the avalanche of the brutal avalanche of girl power propaganda. Now it's everywhere you look, whether it's in Hollywood movies, TV shows, any form of what is supposed to pass for entertainment today, news, all the media. That there isn't, education system, public services. There's the girl power thing that is everywhere you look. Now I'm picked up the local newspaper here, and what are the major stories? They're pushing girls in sport very, very heavily now. So the local newspaper features a girl who's won something here, a swimming thing. Now, when you look at her times are not really very good, way behind the boys' times. But not one of the boys is mentioned. One of them that made a record, in this particular tournament, that boy doesn't even get a mention, or does in the bowels of the newspaper going back and well down in the article, and only one sentence. The girl gets a picture, she gets a feature, and this is how they describe her. A breathtaking display of skill that reverberated around the world. What is going on? These are the superlatives that they rely on here for this girl. Now the next, this is the main stories. The next one is how an Asian lesbian has started her own gay Mardi Gras, LGBTQ Mardi Gras club, and has got hundreds of people, and there are businesses that are donating all sorts of materials and whatnot to this gay lesbian girl who just spontaneously, as a grassroots thing, just one day suddenly decided to do it. I wanted to do something for marginalized people, she said. And then, in that split second, all these businesses, major businesses, started donating and giving stuff to her. Yes, sure they did. There's now another story here about dirt biking, motorbikes through obstacle courses on dirt tracks and so on. None of the boys or men are mentioned. There's a girl doing it, a feature story. This is more a girly story here, but about gymnastics, but there are boys doing the gymnastics. So that's not mentioned. It's just a complete girls' story. And then there's another story that women as victims now, how women are being oppressed, but these women are fighting back. And they've got this quite a large gathering of women with very professionally printed signs and so on. So I don't know how they managed that. There's a local area where they're giving honours to supposedly people who've made contributions to the community, and there's only one white guy and three non-white guys, and there's a men's a club here to ensure equity or something amongst men, and they're all non-white, and more stories here about women. Women, young girls should be encouraged, but girls are being held back in sport. Evil, straight white males are holding girls back from sport, which given what's going on, isn't it? And on it goes here. I'm going through the pages here, and there's pretty much now a women's rowing team. Again, women have been cruelly and evilly held back by men, and now they're seeing that. So it goes. It's just everywhere. There isn't anything that you can pick up, whether it be a local newspaper or again, the Hollywood movie and so on. So there's a lot of promotion. This girl power. Now, instead of picking stories where and situations where you could point to girl power and say, "Well, gee whiz, look at this. This girl really has excelled. She really has achieved." But the narrative they want to pitch isn't the one that is couched in any reality. The complete thing is a fantasy. Now, this was brought home, not only in the Hollywood movies like the Madam Web and those sort of, the ridiculous Lord of the Rings remake and all these other, absurd girl power things that don't even go in the realms of fantasy. I was recently looking at movies that they're on, like online. You can view them for free, and how many of them movies? They have some of them have quite big names in them. If not big names, certainly prominent B grade level actors. But these are movies that maybe only they're in the cinema for one day, if that, and they're considered to be so bad they don't even bother on a streaming service, or they last on the streaming service for a day or two, and then just thought, nah, we can't make money out of this. We'll just let it stream for free on YouTube or something like that. So I was looking at these movies and I thought, all right, well, gee, this sounds like a reasonable enough plot. It's got some decent, named actors in there. Why did this not get anywhere? So and within 5 minutes, they've already done the girl boss messaging in it, less than that often. And so they'll begin with the straight white males sort of acting in it, and then after a minute or two, they go straight to girl boss. So there's one that again, it had some good big names in it, and I thought it had possibilities. But the boss, the corporate boss, is a woman about 30 who looks like a fashion model. So completely implausible in the role that she's supposed to be playing, and she's given like a super it's like they've written a part for a super macho guy, and they give those lines to her to read out, and it comes across as just absurd and ridiculous. Here's this fashion model dressed to the nines, fully made up, who's acting like some acting like some sort of a brutish guy. No, it doesn't work. And then the next scene is where there's a young sort of 100-pound weighing chick, and she's in there, and she's around all these big, beefed up dudes, and but she puts them all in their place. She's no shrinking violet chick. I'm here to do a job, and you guys better get used to it because I've got girl power. And they all just simper around her and go, oh, all right, just accept it and fall over because they know their fucking place. She's putting them in their place, and they fucking know their place. They're dealing now with the moral superiority of girl power. So, and I looked at a few more movies like that. It was all the same. So there's a whole lot of movies that don't even see the light of day, and they're falling apart because of the girl power narrative that they can't let go, or inserting black lesbians in the key sort of roles. Now, it doesn't mean that the white guys don't have the biggest parts in there. They do, but in order, if you like, to compensate for the fact that they need us, a straight white male as the lead, particularly in those action movies and things like that, in order to compensate for it, then the judge, the police chief, and all the people that are in theoretical positions of social power are all black or lesbian or female or minority. So these are why these movies are crashing. But looking at overall at this issue of Girl Boss, I came from a slightly different perspective. I've dated dated a lot of athletic chicks, 6 foot tall chicks. I've dated quite a few of those in my time. So I haven't sort of got a thing about like I don't care if there's a sort of a chick taking a prominent physical role. What I can't get my head around is where they've got these 95-pound scrawny chicks that are supposed to be karate chopping the crap out of 250-pound, muscled up, roided dudes, and they don't even break a sweat. That's ridiculous, and they should, rather than try and pass it off as a realistic interaction, I think they should go straight to fantasy, as in absurd fantasy, if they want to make it work, and they should have hot chicks, doing it, not. Some of the chicks that they're not hot. There's some scrawny little 90-pound chick is supposed to appear. That's not hot. So I don't know. Maybe it's trying to appeal to a teenage girl audience, perhaps. I'm not really sure. But if you look at, say, when I was a kid in high school, I remember there was a Wonder Woman show, and there was a former Miss Universe or Miss America or some beauty queen anyway, who would go running around in the leotard and the boots, and I thought she was pretty sexy. Now the show was fantasy and it was ridiculous, and she had special powers, but there was no attempt to pass it off as anything resembling any sort of reality. It was always tongue in cheek. It was always quite silly. It was always in the realms of fantasia, and so it kind of worked. As silly as it was, it worked because of that. But to try and in the Gil Gadot Wonder Woman, the more recent one, and they tried to pass it off as if it had an element of reality to it, that she genuinely was a morally superior being to the guys around her and this sort of thing. And so that didn't really, that I thought would have alienated audiences. And the same with things like the Amber Heard roles and the race swapping roles and so on. They never really gelled. And the minute I see that sort of stuff, I just switch off, as many other people I know do. So the girl boss thing cost a fortune, but it was a very essential, I believe, it was a very essential component in destabilizing the Western world. And again, wherever the globalists want to impose their ideology, they have to first create instability. That's the sequence. The instability comes, and then they impose the ideology. So it was always, the globalists and so on, that they don't give a flying fuck about women or minorities, not a fucking flying fuck. What they do care about is destabilizing and breaking up all social cohesion in Western societies, and that's this girl power thing is merely a device to do that. Now, say that She-Hulk, Incredible Hulk thing, where they just turned it into a feminist extravaganza. Why didn't they pick a big athletic chick to play that role? In the same way that they would pick, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger to play a role. There's tall athletic chicks around who could have done that Hulk thing. So why didn't they pick one of them? Well, girls won't identify with a 6 foot tall sort of shot putter or something, track and field athlete. They're not going to identify with that. So they don't use those, but that would give it the sort of realism that could theoretically at least make it work, given the narrative they want to push. But having a look at all these things, they haven't worked, and they haven't. They've lost vast sums of money, of course, for Hollywood, but they seem quite prepared, more than prepared, to sustain brutal losses in order to continue pushing the message. Now, they may modify it in some way, but I think they'll just go off, huddle in the corner, regroup, come back again. Because as far as they're concerned, for every one of these girl boss movies that doesn't attract an audience, is it a crap movie? Is it just a bullet? No. It's those damn fucking straight white male Nazis. It's them. They're the problem. And so they go away and decide, well, we just have to redouble our efforts. We have to double down on the propaganda, triple down, quadruple down on the propaganda, because the problem is them, not us. They won't bend to our worldview, so we must make them bend to our worldview. We must crush them. In the same way in George Orwell's 1984, you had no choice other than to watch the TV propaganda 24/7. You know, the party ideological elites could switch off their televisions, but you as a peasant couldn't. You must consume the propaganda, which is part of the issue with the internet. It allows people to tune out of the propaganda messages, as indeed I and many others do, and watch what they want to watch, which may be critical of the message, or may simply be proper entertainment and not the propaganda entertainment that these people want us to consume. So their view is, if we stop, you must consume the propaganda. In the days of, say, the radio and then later television and so on, there was a very narrow range of what you could look at and consume. So propaganda messaging could be channeled through those very few avenues. But today there are hundreds of avenues, many hundreds of avenues of information entertainment, which means the propaganda messaging doesn't get quite as far and doesn't have the sort of impact that they wanted to and needed to if they're going to impose the globalist project. So looking at this girl boss thing, I don't think it's over. I think they're just going to regroup and come back with another sort of angle on the same overall propaganda messaging, and find ways of shutting down the alternatives of any alternative source of information. I mean, you saw this in COVID, where you had all these Western governments saying, "We're your one source of truth," which was, oh, fuck, as they then spew out endless lies. And that's really where they want. You have to listen to us, and you have to believe what we say. And if you don't, then you're a Nazi or a fascist and a racist and whatever. So that's where they want to get to. And they're not going to give that up. It's essential for the globalist project that they have those things in place. So they're not going to give it up. And if the girl boss messaging, because it's propaganda, the girl boss messaging doesn't work, then they'll simply go off in another direction, or a similar direction, or formulate another narrative within that overall propaganda messaging to get what they see is the end point, which is complete control of the information you see and hear. You've been a Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.